It's recording. We're recording. Okay. So, on the one hand, we might run out of natural light. On the other hand, I just took a long time doing my makeup and I feel really good and I'm hashtag no regrets. Hashtag. I'm sure that it'll just go in phases and there will be some times when I enjoy just doing more traditional makeup application. There will be another mascara moment, there will be another eyeliner moment, that kind of thing. But for some reason, just lately, all that I'm really in the mood to do is either just like bronzer and brows, like kind of leaning more into androgyny features, or just like glitter I shouldn't say glitter splatter. Hello there, my parasocial pals, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Chloe Payne, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Today, it's Pride, baby! Really, every day is Pride, but today we are going to talk about some Pride-adjacent books, queer books, gay books, that would be maybe great to include in your TBR if you're trying to get in a little bit more Alphabet Mafia reading during the month of June. Oh my goodness, it's so warm in this room. Oh my goodness. The least that I can do to try to have decent quality sound on these videos is to not have the air conditioner on or the fans on and to just sit in this closed room with no airflow. I want you to know that that is an effort that I'm happy to make for you, but that I'm also very uncomfortable. So we're gonna make this as quick a video as possible in terms of how long we sit and actually record this because I'm melting. Oh, and that reminds me too, I have right off camera my pile of little gay costume pieces that I'll put on for taking the thumbnail. I just don't want to do it until the very end because it's so warm and I like how my hair looks right now and it's gonna flatten my hair to put on the wig and the hat and everything. Vanity is winning today. Pride 2023. So stay tuned till the end of this video to enjoy the capturing of the thumbnail and putting on of wig and sunglasses and hat and all that stuff. It'll be nice and gay. And in the meantime, we have gay books to discuss. Was there anything else I wanted to say before we jump into the next part? I have, I believe, 6 books to discuss today. 6 is half of the number. 12 books overall. I have 12 books to discuss today. And it just so happened to work out that it split right down the middle. The first 6 books that I'll discuss are books that I personally have read and really enjoy and can personally vouch for. The final 6 books that we'll discuss are just on my own personal TBR for the rest of the month. So they are items that I have not yet checked out myself. So let's look at our notes. Looking at notes. We will not forget anything that we wanted to talk about today. First of all, we have a graphic novel called Chef's Kiss. I don't have it with me anymore because I got it from the library, but I mentioned it in the video that I did a while back about all the books that I read while recovering from top surgery. It's just a really charming little comic book. Very autumn vibes, very fall vibes. Very simple story. It's just a young man who's fresh out of college, is trying to get a job, and he can't find a job anywhere in his chosen field, and so he's just looking for a job, and he ends up working in a kitchen where there's a very handsome chef that he gets to work alongside. And oh my gosh, I wonder if romance will ensue. Very light approach to, you know, the more difficult topics of queerness. A struggle with him being accepted by his parents, and there's just his young adult malaise of, you know, finding his way and being out on his own for the first time. But the book also really strikes a lovely balance with just being so funny, very cartoonish, very whimsical. It's a quick read, obviously. It includes really fun recipes for making some of the dishes that they mention in the story. I can't recommend this one enough. It was so charming, and it really transported me when I was recovering from top surgery and just like, you know, stuck in one position. The book just transported me to a calmer, more satisfying, more colorful place, and I really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend Chef's Kiss. Read Between the Lines. Read Between the Lines is a really sweet lesbian kind of rom-com book. It is basically You've Got Mail, except they're lesbians. I'm a sucker for that kind of plot device. I talked a little bit recently in, which video was it? Oh, I read some of the more popular rom-coms of like last year and found myself just reflecting on like how much I enjoy that plot device whenever I come across it, whether it's the 2 characters are getting to know each other without realizing it because they're on Twitter and like, you know, they're anonymous in that way, but they're finding a connection without even realizing that they're finding a connection. Or of course, even You've Got Mail is adapted from like an old musical called She Loves Me, and there's a I think Jimmy Stewart movie that is the same kind of premise called Shop Around the Corner. Like, this is a type of storytelling device that people obviously like returning to time and time time again, right? Is that idea that like, even if you are two very disparate people, two people who might ordinarily be at ends if you met in a regular day-to-day setting, when you're set in the right circumstances, when you're maybe just getting to know each other over letters or over social media or in a setting that you're both really passionate about, like bookshops in New York, then it's possible to find a connection and to find what you have in common and for feelings to develop. I'm a sucker for that plot device, that theme. I think that's really, really lovely. And this book did a super charming job of bringing that to life. It's bookstores in autumn. It's people falling in love over the whole concept of being passionate about reading, being passionate about keeping a little small business alive. It's got a nice strong dose of like anti-capitalism. It's very much about, you know, the small family-owned bookshop is gonna get run out by the big mean corporation. I'm just getting all warm and fuzzy thinking about it right now. It was a really, really charming book. And I always fear that I'm saying the title incorrectly, that it's like fuck between the pages or something and not read between the lines. No, it is called Read Between the Lines. Read Between the Lines. Highly recommend. Ooh, now it is time for one of my favorite queer books of all time. Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur is, to be fair, perhaps a little overestimated in my opinion because I have a quite sentimental attachment to it. I am the person who spent my difficult years just reading fan fiction, in particular during the deep dark times of like 2020, just constantly on Archive of Our Own. And I was in a bit of a reading slump, reading like traditionally published books about characters that I wasn't already very familiar with. Fan fiction was very much my safe space and all that I felt like my brain could handle. I mean, let's not get into disparaging, is fan fiction real reading? Is fan fiction real writing? All reading is real reading. All writing is real writing. If you're reading, if you're writing, if you're enjoying something, then you're winning. There's nothing to overthink about that, obviously. But just in an effort to push my own boundaries and heal a little bit, I just started to slowly tiptoe back into the land of reading published works. And my gateway drug was that I wanted to find queer romance. I wanted to find things that would give me a similar energy to the works that had given me so much comfort in the fan fiction space. I just so happened to be in a bookstore where Written in the Stars was one of the staff recommendations on the shelf. It's just... I'm from Seattle and it is set in Seattle. I just described to you like my obsessive past with fan fiction, and part of the premise of the book is that one of the women works with a dating site that is called OTP, because like the idea behind the dating site is to like help you meet up with people through your interests and like, you know, what are the fandoms that you're in, and be an astrology gay, like what's all your astrology stuff. The book is full of astrology, the book is full of fandom references and fanfic references. I want to say it's the start of each chapter heading. I don't have the book anymore here in front of me because I loved it so much I gave it away to someone as soon as I bought the book a couple times to give away to friends. But I think that I remember that the start of each chapter heading, or like it happened several times throughout the book certainly, there are little like listicles, kind of like a BuzzFeed thing. Your astrological sign as defined by Taylor Swift songs, your astrological sign as defined by whatever fandom you were into in college. It's so full of fun little pop culture and things that just feel very grounded in a 2020s reality. And at the same time, it's also fake dating, kind of enemies to lovers, like the two women kind of meet in the beginning and don't think that they like each other. But then once they end up doing this fake dating thing, they, you know, of course, gradually go closer and closer together.
I'm a sucker for fake dating as well.
Once again, some sort of light delving into the queer topics of like, you know, struggling to be accepted by your family, pain of recovering from past relationships. There's sort of a who hurt you. It is the first book in a trilogy. I personally don't happen to like the other two books in the trilogy nearly as much as I like the first one. I almost wish that the first one had just been a standalone, but that's part of the reason that I can wholeheartedly recommend this book, is not only because I wholeheartedly recommend just Written in the Stars, but also there's the possibility that you might love those characters so much that you could end up with 3 whole books to read, and maybe you'll like the other 2 books in the series more than I did. Definitely just one of my favorite queer romances of all time so far that I've ever read. Written in the Stars. Oh, now we come to the first book on my list that I actually have the physical book here in my floor pile. Very sophisticated system. Yep. Not that one. Okay. It's Very original. I'm sure you've never heard this recommendation before. Legends and lattes. That's right. I'm not like the other booktubers. I'm unique. No, Legends and Lattes. I'm sure that you have heard so much about this one. An orc who has been battling in distant lands for a long, long time is ready to retire, and she decides to set up a coffee shop. The whole book is just the story, one chapter at a time, of setting up a new coffee shop. Find the location. Find someone who can be a good artist to draw a chalk menu. Find someone who can cook sweet treats for your cafe. It is, I think, the book, is it like the book that helped coin the term that is really popular right now of like high fantasy, low stakes, cozy fantasy. It is incredibly cozy, enthralling. It sucks you in. I will give the quick warning that it was described to me as having like zero stakes, as like simply being about the mundanity of, you know, running a coffee shop and having customer interactions and finding your people in this new town where you're developing a new business. I must confess that there are some stakes in this book. This is probably only a reflection of how high my anxiety is, the fact that I was a little bit on the edge of my seat with the stakes in this book. It's nothing any more dire than, oh gosh, there's a local entity in the town where she's trying to start the coffee shop that is basically like a rival and like doesn't want the coffee shop being there, and oh gosh, I wonder if there will be some animosity there at some point. It's not high stakes necessarily, but I wept. I cried a lot at how that storyline resolved. It had been pitched to me as more the purely meditative experience of,
dude, there's gonna be basically like not even any plot at all. It's literally just gonna be grinding coffee beans. It's literally just gonna be meeting customers that you sell coffee to.
There was more to it than that. If you are looking for a book to be just cozy and mundane with for like 75% of the reading experience and then cry a little bit, then this is the book for you, in my opinion. And as far as it being a pride read, it is true that there's a sapphic relationship. Spoiler alert, I mean, I'm sure that you could tell from the cover image. Gosh, I wonder if these two feminine looking, very badass looking fantasy characters are going to end up in a relationship at some point. There's that element to it, yes, but the thing that I think really makes this a book that makes a lot of sense as a Pride Month read, one of the strongest vibes of found family that I've ever encountered in a book. Not just about the experience of watching a found family develop, it's not just about the experience of having a main character around whom people rally and the relationships that develop and the commitments that those people make to each other. It's even got just like the slightest bit of a philosophical or mindfulness or manifestation or semi-spiritual approach. The idea that you attract the people to you, that you are meant to attract to you. That was incredibly comforting for me. I think that we would all take a lot of solace in the notion that we are doing all that we can be doing by just moving through our day, through our life, one footstep at a time. And if we are just doing that as best we can and trying to be true to ourselves and pursue the things that we want and do right by others, then that's going to naturally lead to you, the people who are supposed to be in your life. And I thought that that was one of the more effective and moving depictions of like a found family dynamic that I had ever encountered. And I've now been talking about this book for like 10 minutes. This was another one, just like Written in the Stars. I bought that book and promptly gifted it to other people and bought other copies to gift to other people. This is my second copy of this book because the book that I originally bought, I then gifted to someone else, and then I just had to have another one just for me. I still haven't read the epilogue because I am desperate to be in the space of this book again, and it comforts me to know that I still have like 3 pages of it to just like be temporarily in the world briefly for the epilogue. I'm like, you know, saving it for a rainy day. It's an experience, and it is, I believe, a really worthwhile read for Pride Month in particular. So, Legends and Lattes. If you haven't already jumped on the bandwagon, choo-choo, hop aboard, Everybody loves the train, the vibe train, the hype train. Stone Fruit by Lee Lai. Stone Fruit is a really, really badass graphic novel. The two different, very disparate ends of the spectrum of graphic novels that I'm recommending. On the one end of the spectrum, you've got something very cutesy and very short and more like a traditional comic book, almost for kids, in the form of Chef's Kiss. And on the other end of the spectrum, you've got long, thick, it's like a bigger book to read graphic novel and depiction of very adult themes, something definitely to maybe check some trigger warnings just depending on where you're at. It's about a queer couple who are the fun weirdo aunties for their little niece. Very much got those vibes of little kids being weird, little girls being weird, the things that hanging out with the little kid can unleash in you as an adult, and the ways in which being a fun weird auntie can be really important for a kid too. And then as the relationship of these two women goes through a lot of ups and downs and erodes in some ways. There's one of the women going back to their family of origin who never really accepted how they came out as trans, and there's a lot of acceptance to be done there. There's the other woman in the relationship going and sort of re-deepening her connection with her sister, who's the mother of the little girl, and the ways in which that sisterhood was broken or still needs to be mended in some ways based on how they each feel about the obligations that they had to each other. There's the dynamic that they all want to share with this really special little kid. It raises that tough question that comes up sometimes of if you go through a breakup, does that mean that you no longer get to be a part of the family members that you were previously really, really close with? And in what ways is that weird, or in what ways is it just a really natural extension of it taking a village to raise a kid, and how relationships never really end, they just change. It's a heartbreaking book. I was crying by about 50 pages in. It's beautifully illustrated, incredibly moving. Check the content warnings, and if you're up for it, check out Stone Fruit by Lee Lai. Oh, and the last one. This is a book that I talked about in more detail in my video about all the books that I read in 2022. The book is called Annie on My Mind, and it is by many considered to be the first young adult book that included a lesbian relationship. It really has Judy Blume vibes, reading something from the point of view of a young female character, but who is in a different time than you, who is going through the same things that maybe you in a similar body or a similar household are going through in a totally different decade. And it just sort of gives you that little additional amount of, oh, wow, there have always been people like me going through similar things, and what would the world have been like before cell phones? It's a world that feels just relatable enough, and also sort of gives you the comfort of feeling like you're reaching back in time a little bit to commune with someone who went through an experience like you did long before you were even alive. And what are the ways in which that's really comforting, and what are the ways in which that's hard to think about? The simple kind of summary of the book is, I think it's set in the 70s, the late 70s or maybe early 80s. Preppy teenage girl in upper class, New York. She's got a Manhattan kind of family, and she goes to a private school. She ends up falling for another teenage girl in her class. Of course, it's very much about the keeping up of appearances and dealing with the repercussions of being outed, and the finding of allies in the form of maybe those two female teachers who have always lived together and are just really good friends are actually also queer people who could help us and who we can have some community with and learn more about our history with. I looked up the book because I was at a place in my sort of coming out journey where I was getting a lot of comfort and solace from modern day resources, modern day creators and writers who were out and willing to share, their experiences in different forms of creativity. And it got me thinking about how might my life have been different if I could have read something about gay high schoolers when I was in high school? How might my life have been different if I could have read something about gay preteens when I was in junior high? So I just did a little Googling. Common consensus seemed to be that Annie on My Mind holds sort of a historical place for a lot of people, of being considered one of the first books like this for the audience, for the age group that it was written for and about. Again, check the content warnings if you're not looking for something that's gonna bring up some emotions, but for the most part, it was a very sweet and uplifting and transportive reading experience. It really takes you back to those moments of like early independence when you're in, maybe junior high or high school and you're just getting to the point where like, you can ride the bus by yourself to go places with your friends, or like, these girls are in New York and they're riding the subway to go on, little lesbian picnics in the park, and they're going to the museum. And it's a book that did a really lovely job balancing, on the one hand, all the charm of being young and falling in love and learning all these new things about yourself, while at the same time just like navigating how a lot of that brings up a lot of scary feelings as well. I thought that it balanced that really, really gracefully. It is young adult, of course, so it doesn't hit any of those issues too terribly hard. So if you've never heard about it, I highly recommend Annie on My Mind. Okay, now we can get into the list of 6 books that
I'm quite frankly very tired.
A memoir by Daniel Lavery. It's called Something That May Shock and Discredit You. I found out about Daniel Lavery ages ago because I'm obsessed with having podcasts on at every moment of my life, lest there ever be silence in my head. Dear Prudence, I was a huge fan of that podcast while Daniel Lavery was doing advice work on that. And now the name of the show that he's on is Big Mood, Little Mood. Trans man who grew up like in the Bible Belt and ultimately had to separate from his very Christian, very evangelical family, and who has been out very publicly as an artist and a podcaster and a writer for a long, long time, and who transitioned publicly. I recently saw a really cool video. The name of her channel is Small Lime Books. The creator did a really cool video all about how June is Read Caribbean Month. So I was really looking forward to learning more about the books that can be about the intersectionality here. A little bit of searching on Goodreads brought me to a title that I'm really excited to learn more about. The title of the book is We Came All the Way from Cuba So You Could Dress Like This? Perfect. Sold. You don't need to tell me anything else. I'm sold. It looks like it's a book of short stories by a lesbian Cuban author. I can't wait to dive in. I want to learn more about what this point of view can teach me. I mean, already right off the bat, that title just like completely pulls me in and speaks so very much to an experience that can just bond so many queer people, right? Of just, no matter where you're from, no matter what you do with your life, if you turn out queer, there's always some way in which we can all unite over disappointing our families. And I am so grateful to Small Lime Books for making this video and sharing something about a way to celebrate another part of the world, another culture, another group of readers that I had never heard about. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I will link that video down below so that you can check out Small Lime Books as well. I've had these things on my TBR for ages. 2020 did a Google search for what's a book series that is like Harry Potter but with lesbians. And that's how I discovered The Liarmouth Chronicles. I bought all 4 books. I proceeded to slowly work my way through the first. It was a bit of a challenge for me, but I have them all. I got one of those damn IKEA carts and it is slowly filling up with books. I don't know what I thought would happen when I got the cart. Of course, I just started filling it with books. I am becoming a parody of myself. This was my first foray into, I'll just buy them all at once and surely I'll read them all. The premise, The Exile and the Sorcerer, book 1, the one that I've read so far. Woman lives on an island colony where the women are in charge and it's the men who are on the bottom of the food chain. She develops feelings for another woman, and for some reason in this society, it's okay to be like, a woman who's constantly putting down men, but it's not okay to be gay. So she gets exiled. She's the exile, and her lover ends up being a sorcerer. By the end of this book, our girlies have been united and they are a team and they are set out on this big, long, epic quest. A chalice and a wizard and a castle and a journey and mercenaries, and I have learned about myself that I'm not necessarily a fantasy reader. I think that I probably only ever got into the Harry Potter books because I was of that generation. I am about halfway through the second book in the series, The Traitor and the Chalice. It's got sort of fantasy lesbian Scooby-Doo vibes. Our girlies are trying to investigate the mystery that they uncovered at the end of book 1. The gay fantasy Agatha Christie vibes that I think this wants me to be falling for just haven't really clicked yet. And from what I understand from the other 2 books, just from looking at the summaries, is it's just going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of our girlfriends going on mystery adventures, and it's all going to culminate in the solving of the mystery and figuring out who stole the chalice and bringing of peace to the land, and presumably gay sex. I think that these books are probably good. I think that I'm the problem. I want to push myself to digest these fantasy books and not just give up. The completionist pressure. Let's move on to another book. Ooh, it's another one that I actually have the physical book for. Wow! I am really, really looking forward to reading. I've kind of been saving this one for a tough day when I need something that's gonna help me just fall into a book. Spinning by Tilly Walden. Autobiographical from what I understand. It's like a graphic memoir by the author, accounting the experience of being a teenager who had always been into figure skating or ballet? Skating. They have ice skates on. A teenager who had been very into skating as a kid and then starts to realize that she's queer, and that seems to bring up a lot of tumult in her life and make it difficult for her to continue doing this extracurricular. I was never involved in a sport. I could not sport a sport if I tried to sport, but I was the person who was at junior high and high school for hours and hours and hours at the end of every day doing choir and drama and all the artsy extracurriculars, and the feelings that unfold when you're up close and personal with all your teenage peers doing those activities. Am I right? Am I right? I think that this one's gonna hit really, really hard, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is how we lose the time war. Eyelash in my face. The world is ending. Okay. I know very little about the plot. From what I understand, it's kind of a concept book, which I am wary of, but it's gotten enough hype from other readers that I think I have similar tastes with, that I'm just interested enough in giving it a go. It's 2 authors. Yeah, it's 2 different authors are credited on the title, and I guess that the premise is basically a book that is told all in letters by 2 characters writing to each other, and one author just wrote for each character. And it's time jump, and it's 2 sapphic people ending up sort of forming a connection because they're agents in the time war, and they're writing back and forth to each other, and they end up sort of leaving each other love notes and hidden messages in the history over time as they're doing their time agent work. You've heard the things that I've had to say about how topics such as these typically really break my brain. I struggle with fantasy, I struggle with sci-fi, but this is a pretty short one, and again, I had already been kind of interested in it just for the sake of what similar readers around me had described. And then, I don't know if any of you guys followed the Biggest Dickless tweet storm that happened recently. I am always happy to jump on what is everybody talking about on the social media, and how might it be fun to learn more about kind of train. So this is how you lose the time war. Which brings us to our last entry. It's trans wizard Harriet Porber and the word that I will never be able to say. Paranormal. Paraphernalia. People. It's a Chuck Tingle book. I haven't yet read anything by Chuck Tingle myself, but I follow this author on Tumblr, and so I am familiar with just some of the shenanigans. This is a person who writes very over the top, what would one call it? Is it satirical? Is it commentary? Is it shitposting? How does anyone really sum this up? I will link the Strange Eons video about this book below so that you can learn more if you would like to from that source. But suffice it to say, I've been looking forward to reading this one for a long time. It's another one that I bought impulsively and have just had sitting on my shelf. And I think that it is time. Pride Month is the perfect time, is it not? Oh gosh. Sitting over there on the other side of the room, I can see the items I want to wear for the thumbnail. Oh, it's gonna be so warm. Okay, stay with me. We'll make it through this experience together. All right, where do we begin? A little ascot moment. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Do I still have earrings? Did everyone survive? Everybody grab a buddy. Is everybody still here? Hell yeah! Let's make this look slightly more fashionable. That's what people come to my channel for, is fashion. Let's be a rainbow, shall we? Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Having bangs. Oh my word. Oh my goodness gracious. Hi. Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah, I remember I pinned the bangs back so that I could be on stage and see things. Overrated. Who needs to see things? Not me. Ooh. Ooh! Okay, the look is coming together. The look is coming together! It's happening! Chloe, get the rest of it taken care of. You're not gonna want to wear this for very long. Smirnoff! Everybody loves branded swag. All right, how does it look if we do both the hat and this? Ooh, okay, the snapback. Snapback vibes. Snapback vibes. Got it. Can't go wrong with just a good old fashioned. Oh my god, I feel so powerful. Does the snapback read? Is the snapback working? Do-do-do-do. Ooh, okay. The profile is working. The profile is giving. Books. I need to hold my books. I want to hold them all. Okay. How do I? Oh my god. I'm so scared they're all gonna fall. Let me see. Okay, wait. Ooh, if I can hold them with one hand, can I give it a limp wrist or something? Little stuffed rainbow? Do you have the balancing ability? Would you like to live on top? Are you a top? Do you identify? Oh, okay, that feels pretty cute. Say gay. Oh, my life is so difficult. Okay, now.
Serious face option.
Serious face. Snarky face. Smirky face. Okay, maybe just in case the hat looks stupid, let's take the hat off. Oh my goodness. Is the hair still working? Are we working it? As we've discussed in previous videos, the technique. You gotta make noises while you're posing for a picture. It's science. Yay! What do we do with our hand? I think that has to be enough. I think we have to stop. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so warm. Oh, why? Oh, holy moly, ravioli. Okay. Be free! Hair! Oh. Okay. Oh my god. I do not feel the same as I did 5 minutes ago. Would you hold on to those for me, please? Great. Good job. Thank you very much. Okay. I think that'll do it. Leave me a comment below. Tell me how your Pride Month is going. What's coming up that you're maybe really excited about in terms of events or things that you're making, things that you're working on? What are the books that you're reading? What are the books that you're excited to maybe look into start reading? Is there anything on this list that you think you might be checking out in terms of your future TBR? Is there anything on this list that you have already read and that you'd like to gush about or trash on in the comments below? I read every comment and I'm always so thrilled to talk about whatever you guys want to discuss in the comments below. If you feel up to it, I have some links in the description box below about organizations that could use your support or that would even just be good to learn more about. I also just have some links to mental health resources in case you are having a tough time. If you enjoy mediocre pictures on Instagram or the cool misadventures of a cool 37-year-old cool kid on TikTok or gay memes and rambles on Tumblr, then I hope you'll come hang out with me on your social media location of choice. I am at ChloeThePayne on all the things. Shout out to my patrons. In the description box below, you can learn more about my Patreon, my website, my commission songwriting services, all that good stuff. I hope you'll consider liking this video if you liked it and subscribing if you would like to stick around. I upload new videos on this channel every week-ish. I think that is it for today. What a wild one. What a strange energy. What a tired head I have. It made me feel a lot better at the end of this very long and winding and chaotic day to just put on some glitter and sit and get excited about books with you. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And now it is time to do something for the end card. There is an end card approaching or already on your screen. The rainbow says you should click on the links. Oh my god, the rainbow is too cool for all of us. Happy Pride from the rainbow! Oh my god, look at how cute the rainbow is! The rainbow says, leave some rainbow emojis in the comments down below. Well done, rainbow. We love you. Mwah. Happy Pride, everybody. Take care.